D, wait for it, delightful.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? So I made a video earlier and it dealt with Grace Randolph. And one of the things that I talked about in that video is her scoop for The Mandalorian. And I didn't feel like I was able to collect all my thoughts because I was a little rushed on that part of it. So I wasn't able to collect all my thoughts and really get them out there in the way that I kind of wanted to. So I thought I'd go over it again and just this time condense it into a smaller video and just go over the Mandalorian scoop that she gave out about Pedro Pascal on the Mandalorian and just really try to make you guys realize that she was correct with her scoop. I know a lot of people out there are saying that she's wrong, but I mean, the evidence is very clear. Before I get started, though, I just want to say that if you like what I do here and you enjoy independent content here on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my channel. YouTube is always changing up their algorithms, and small channels like myself usually get pushed to the back of the line. So I please ask that you like, share, and subscribe, and I thank you in advance. So we're going to get started on this scoop. Now, before I get started, I know that you guys are going to say that I'm a simp, and that's fine. I can handle that. I don't care. So Grace started this scoop. This came out September 15, 2020. Now, she reacted to the trailer for it, and then she went on to give some extra tea. So let's go over that video, and we're going to start that video right now. So here we go.
So now the tea, as promised. I haven't been able to confirm, though, whether or not this was resolved for season 3. I hope that it will be, though, because I really like Pedro Pascal on this show. And also, now that you know this, you'll understand why The Mandalorian season 2 will have a good chunk of it that does not feature The Mandalorian, or at least not Djarin, because the title doesn't specify which Mandalorian, a loophole they weren't expected to maybe need. And by the way, that's already been confirmed in the recent Entertainment Weekly interview by Jon Favreau himself, that season 2 will focus heavily on other characters and storylines that don't involve Pedro Pascal. Ryan?
I just want to say real quick that I will leave a link for all of the articles and such that I bring up here. You can find the links down below, either in the description or in the pinned comment, just so that way. And I will leave this article from Entertainment Weekly, which she has cited, and she is correct on that. Okay, so here we go.
That's because while filming season 2, Pedro Pascal really wanted to have some scenes with his helmet off, which I totally understand, you know, from an actor's perspective. Also because there are other Mandalorian characters, or at least ones wearing Mandalorian armor, that get to have scenes without helmets. So it does seem a little unfair. Like he can't have one scene in private with the child? But no, the Mandalorian creative team wouldn't budge on this. So Pedro Pascal, from what I've heard from 2 sources now, was frustrated about this, and also was pretty darn uncomfortable in the Mando suit on set. So he became difficult. And the final straw, though, even though he was, you know, difficult to be around on set, the final straw was that he went to Lucasfilm, from what I heard from my sources, to try and get them to intervene on his behalf. And you combine that with Lucasfilm already trying to get involved with story aspects of season 2, which I've also heard, including focusing more on standalone episodes rather than making them more connected, which is what I heard the Mandalorian creative team wanted to do, which is kind of what was happening at the end of season 1. So when Pedro Pascal went to Lucasfilm, you know, the Mando team was like, you know what, you should just go. And Pedro Pascal did. So that happened about halfway.
Now, I just want you to focus on her exact words. They asked him to go, and he did, okay? You know, the words mean a lot, so just listen to very specifically, and we'll get into that more later on in this video.
Filming. So either The Mandalorian season 2 will switch halfway through, or I've been thinking about it, I think there's a chance, and this is probably what I would do, is that they'll sprinkle the Mandalorian stuff with Pedro Pascal that they did shoot throughout the season to make it feel more whole, and then they'll fill in the blanks with these other character stories.
Now, I just want to say also right there, notice how she didn't say that this was going to happen. She said that this is what she would do. So kind of like a suggestion. So because I saw a lot of people saying that she lied and said that they would change it up. And that's not what she said. She said that's what she would do, is she would sprinkle in his scenes or whatnot. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on as we go on through this video. Okay, here we go.
We have wondered why Dave Filoni characters are being brought onto this show instead of having their own show. Maybe that was always the plan, or maybe because Pedro Pascal and the creative team had this falling out halfway through filming, they needed new exciting characters that would make up for the loss of a fan favorite. It's like, hey, you might not have as much of Pedro Pascal, but look at all this cool new stuff you're getting, which I also think I understand where everybody's coming from on this. Now, as I said, I've heard the breakup was pretty bad with both sides pretty darn upset, but hopefully cooler heads can prevail. Maybe, again, they already have, so that Pedro Pascal's Mandalorian can return for season 3 with his helmet off for 1 or 2 scenes. I mean, how do you feel about it? Is the helmet staying on 100% of the time? Come on, these are creative people. They came up with a reason for him to take it off in season 1. Do you really feel it should be that much of a line in the sand? I think that there should be some compromise that can be reached, because I just think Pedro Pascal is fantastic in this role. And also to him, I would say, don't underestimate the importance of your voiceover. I think that, even when we don't see Pedro Pascal, I think we definitely feel him. So what do you think? Share your thoughts down.
So real quick, I just want to say, notice how she said she paid Pedro Pascal a lot of compliments in this. A lot of people were saying that she was trying to hurt his career, and I don't think that's what she was trying to do. She also, complimented and it said, don't underestimate your voice work, which we will talk about that in a minute when we talk about this other scooper. But I think that, basically all that she's done is said that Pedro Pascal wanted to take off his helmet. She understood why. He became difficult, went to Lucasfilms. They asked him to leave. He left. And she said her thoughts were she would sprinkle in his stuff. And then, she didn't know if it had been resolved. And hopefully it had been. And that she likes his voice work and everything.
Well, again, I've had that confirmed by 2 sources. And it totally fits with the way... they've been very secretive about this. Understandable. Star Wars does not need more scandal.
It does not. Completely understandable.
So, that's the reason why you're going to see a lot of, you're going to see episodes that don't feature Pedro Pascal, and that's why.
So now I just want to stop there, and I just want to talk about what happened next. So then another YouTuber, Victor Van Doomcock, who is over at DVD Overlord, he put out a video on September 22nd of 2020. Now he went on to not only confirm what Grace had said in her coverage, but he also added on, and we're going to take a look at that video. Now, I just want to say real quick, I have edited this video to only give you the facts and the details that, help out. I will leave a link also to that video down below and to any other videos that I use in this down below, so you can then watch the whole thing in its entirety for yourself. Just for time-wise, I'm condensing it so that way we can just get to the facts and the meat of the story. So here we go with Victor Van Doomcock, who's the future ruler of Earth. Here is his video.
Grace Randolph broke some rumors regarding the Mandalorian. Spread like wildfire through the untended forests of the internet, fueled by interest in the soon-to-be-released Season 2, as well as rumors I broke regarding Disney shooting Mandalorian Seasons 3 and 4 simultaneously, in a forced quarantine situation on a decommissioned Air Force base recently purchased for that purpose. Well, just a couple of hours ago, I received some information that sheds new light on these rumors and reveals the fate of Pedro Pascal in Season 3 of The Mandalorian. About 5 days ago, Grace Randolph claimed that there had been trouble with Pedro Pascal wanting to take off his mask, which has led to him walking away from the production for a period of time, which led in turn to a radical shift away from the character of The Mandalorian on a show.
I just want to say real quick that she didn't say that he walked away. She said that he was asked to leave, and he did leave. So I know, nitpicky. Okay.
The Mandalorian, which, as you can imagine, would be a bit of a problem. Well, at the time these rumors came out, I had heard nothing about them. You guys were asking me for my comments, and I had none. Initially, when I asked my sources about this rumor, they ran into dead ends. They felt that this was some kind of publicity stunt to drum up interest in Mandalorian Season 2 close to its release, but I felt there was no way that Disney would want negative publicity of any kind around the one successful Star Wars skew they've managed to cobble together from the ruins of Kathleen Kennedy's reign. And so I asked them to beat the bushes and see if they could drum up anything to confirm or deny what Grace Randolph reported. My sources have done so, and they have come up with new details on Randolph's rumors, as well as some new information I find rather alarming. Please bear in mind that these comments on Randolph's rumors are rumors themselves. So as always, please consider what you're about to hear to be unverified, and take these rumors with a grain of salt. My friends, this investigation has been a labyrinth of strange silences and shifting directions. Initially, one of my best sources claimed that he or she didn't know anything about there being problems with Pedro Pascal. My source claimed that Pedro didn't walk off the show as rumored. Season 2 has been finished quite a while, and they are moving forward with production of Seasons 3 and 4. But my agent, who spoke with this source, expressed the opinion that it might well be our source can't tell us what's really going on. This gave me pause, because our sources in general are pretty free with information. If my agent felt this, then there must have been something in the manner of this source that gave them pause. Did this source not know, or was this source reluctant to disclose what they knew? My agents at this point felt like the story was still probably bogus, as Pedro had not expressed a shred of negativity across his social media accounts. Surely, Pedro Pascal would have let some hint of discontent slip out if things were...
I don't believe that he would let any discontent. Nobody wants to when you complain, there's problems. And then plus yeah.
on the set of The Mandalorian, even with contracts and legal obligations, right? He wasn't complaining about The Mandalorian. In fact, he's still promoting it. Still, I wanted to make sure, so I asked my agents to dig deeper and to follow up on these rumors with a few more of our best sources, and one of them came through in a big way. According to this source, one of our most reliable insiders, there is indeed a problem with Pedro Pascal.
Now, I just want to say right there, he confirmed that he had two sources, which he'll say later, but he confirmed that Grace was right, that he was problematic on set. So here we go. We'll continue this.
Pedro has felt very frustrated at being hidden behind a mask and wanting more face time on the show. This seems to me to be a reasonable request. Pedro wanted the chance to use his...
Real quick, I just want to say right now, both of them confirmed that he wanted to take off his helmet in the show. Both of them said that this is a reasonable request. He wasn't asking for the moon or anything. He was just asking to take his helmet off, and both understood his request. So I just want to get that out of the way. Okay, here we go.
Abilities to bring this character to life. And the lore that Mandalorians don't remove their helmets, well, that's more of a guideline than a rule, isn't it? Since on Clone Wars and Rebels, Mandalorians removed their helmets whenever they wanted to. But hey, canon hasn't exactly been thriving under Kennedy's reign of terror, so whatever. Propping up this brand new conceit that Mandalorians never take off their helmets is more important than making your lead actor happy, I guess, even though keeping his helmet on has the net effect of limiting the dramatic impact of stories by keeping the Mandalorian at a distance from everyone else and making sure he never has any personal stories to tell. There's a limit to the kinds of stories you can tell with this helmet always on rule. Pedro has figured this out, and reportedly, he is not happy with the Faustian bargain he has made. Sure, he's the star of the show, a star that won't ever be seen. My source claims that Pedro Pascal was jealous over Gina Carano and Baby Yoda getting all the attention when he's the actual star of the show. And this did indeed lead to some friction. Just hours ago, I received some information that really shed light on these rumors, which is why I'm finally making this video after days of silence. So during this part, I will be referring to two sources, my initial source and my new...
And I just want to say, so he's got two sources. Grace had two sources, and one of her sources, she said, was so close to this whole thing that she might as well have been on set. She said that in a live stream and everything. And then so he's got two sources. That's at least, we'll just say four sources that are confirming that there was a problem on set with Pedro Pascal. So, all right, continuing.
The distinction is important. You'll see why in a moment. So my initial source admitted that Pedro Pascal was unhappy with the mask situation, but claimed it wasn't as ugly as Randolph had depicted it. Pascal never went to Kathleen Kennedy, as the claims say. Why would he do?
Real quick, I just want to say she didn't say that he went to Kathleen Kennedy. She said Lucasfilm.
He went to Lucasfilm, from what I heard from my sources, to try and get them to intervene on his behalf.
So I think that for him to say that, she never once said Kathleen Kennedy. I mean, and we'll continue. He'll talk about that in a minute, and I'll elaborate it just a little bit.
According to my source, Kennedy is completely marginalized as far as The Mandalorian goes. She has no power to change anything Favreau and Filoni want to do at this point. So any suggestions that Pascal tried to get Kathleen Kennedy to intercede for him are reportedly bogus. This source claims that Pedro Pascal only mentioned the situation to George Lucas one day while Lucas was busy.
So I think that when she said Lucasfilm, I mean George Lucas. I mean I don't know if she knew that it was George Lucas, but I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility to assume that when she said George Lucas that she meant George Lucas, or when she said Lucasfilm she meant George Lucas. All right, continuing.
The set. So this source claims that while indeed Pascal was unhappy about the situation, the whole incident was being blown out of proportion. People this source has spoken to claim the situation has been addressed, and my source couldn't understand why this was all being brought up now. But then, at the end, something happened that made me very suspicious. My source concluded that they could neither confirm nor deny that Pedro Pascal will be in season 3 of The Mandalorian.
So now he says that there might not be Djarin in season 3 of The Mandalorian. So we'll continue, and that'll play a part later on. So here we go. He couldn't confirm it.
Now that is weird.
So weird.
My sources have never played games like that before. Never. So what the hell was this? I got all of this information a little over a day ago. I was holding off doing a video about it, however, until this morning, when I got new information from a brand new source that makes everything suddenly clear. Again, please consider what you are about to hear as rumor. According to this last-minute source, Pedro Pascal did indeed speak to George Lucas on the set of The Mandalorian one day. He knew that Favreau and Filoni both respect George's opinion, and he was hoping that George could make Favreau and Filoni see the light, look at things from Pascal's perspective, and get him some face time on the show. This apparently didn't work, and at that point, the problems began. Pascal allegedly became very difficult to work with. He would pull the helmet off in the middle of scenes without warning. He started getting his lines.
I just want to say he's now confirmed. Grace said that he became difficult on set, and now he just said that he became difficult on set, and he goes into detail exactly what he was doing to be difficult. So here we go, continuing.
Showing up for work late. His attitude started causing a lot of friction on the set, so bad that at one point he was told to leave the set. This apparently is the source of the rumor that he walked off the set. It seems he didn't quit, so...
I just want to say right here, she did not say that he quit and walked off the set. She said what he just said, and she said this.
So the Mando team was like, you know what? You should just go. And Pedro Pascal did.
So she didn't say he quit. She said that he became difficult. They asked him to go, and he left. And so he's misspeaking right here, but he's confirming everything that she said.
He was told to get the F out. I was astonished to hear this, but not entirely surprised. This kind of weird pettiness happens all the time in Hollywood, so I do credit this rumor as more plausible than it would at first appear. But here's the kicker, folks. My initial source said that the situation was resolved, and they could neither confirm nor deny that Pedro Pascal will return for season 3 of The Man.
So I just want to say right there, he said that Grace said she didn't know if it had been resolved, but she hoped it had been. And he just told us that it has been resolved. So let's continue.
Claims that the situation is resolved all right. Pedro Pascal will not be returning to the set of The Mandalorian. From season 3 onward, he will only be recording lines for The Mandalorian.
So I just want to say right now, he just said he will only be recording lines. And Grace said, don't underestimate the power of your voice, which, I mean, obviously, they think that he can do the voiceover work and not be in that heavy suit that he was uncomfortable in. Continuing.
longer be appearing on camera. It will be someone else in the suit. This satisfies Pascal, who will have to work a lot less and will no longer be shoved into that uncomfortable costume all day. And it satisfies the crew, as the guy in the suit will no longer be pulling off his helmet in the middle of takes and complaining to George Lucas.
So that was the first video. Now, the second video that Victor Van Doomcock did was on November 19th of 2020. And he pretty much just reiterates what he just said in that video. And then he also goes on to give us a little bit more information, including what was the straw that broke the camel's back, with Pedro Pascal's back. And he goes into a little bit more detail. So let's take a look at that video right now. And I think it's very interesting and telling.
Pascal stirred up a lot of resentment in Star Wars fandom when news leaked that he had pitched a fit and left the show because he hated the idea of never taking off his helmet.
Again, he did not leave the show. He was asked to leave. So here we go.
It was assumed that Pascal was simply behaving as a spoiled, overpaid prima donna, a temperamental actor motivated by the vain desire to have face time on the show, even though he knew what he was getting into when he signed his contract, at which point he was informed that he would not be removing his helmet. This didn't sit well with Star Wars fans in a time of massive unemployment and layoffs. It seemed ungrateful of Pascal to try and renege on his deal. My agents have provided me with a very telling new rumor about what really happened on the set of The Mandalorian, and let me assure you, if this rumor is true, you have only been told half of the story. At this point, I must tell you that what you're about to hear is information I have been provided that I cannot independently verify. And although it has been sent to me by my usual agents who have proven to be very reliable in the past, I must ask you to consider what I'm about to tell you as rumor, and to take it with a grain of salt. My agents tell me that Disney did not want this story to get out, that they just want to forget all about this incident. But as much as I don't like Pedro Pascal for the asinine and hurtful things he has tweeted out and posted on Instagram, I feel as if a bit of an injustice has been done to him, and so I want to set the record straight. This is a rumor, yes, but even so, it makes so damn much sense. I think when you hear this, you'll agree it's all too plausible. According to a source with knowledge of the production, when Pedro Pascal signed his contract, he was under the belief that no Mandalorians were ever going to remove their helmets, and this would apply to all Mandalorian characters on the show moving forward. Alas, when Pedro got his first read of the script for Chapter 11, introducing Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan, he was pissed to see that in fact there were going to be Mandalorians taking off their helmets, and he wasn't one of them. Once Pedro got a load of Katie Sackhoff getting to take off her helmet, along with two other Mandalorians going full Monty faceless, he started trying to change the situation. As the previous rumor suggested, he went to Jon Favreau, to George Lucas, to Bob Iger and Bob Chapek, though tellingly, when asked if Pedro Pascal went to plead his case to Kathleen Kennedy, the source replied, quote, "He knows better than to go to her," unquote. And that was a direct quote. But regardless of whom he petitioned, Pedro Pascal didn't get anywhere, and I am told it is at that point he got hard to work with, showing up late, blowing lines, grumbling, basically doing everything he could to register his displeasure with the process. This went on until one day, finally, something happened that he couldn't stand, and that's when he blew his top.
So this is the part where he tells us what was the final straw, the straw that broke the camel's back, and let's check out what it was. It's very interesting.
According to this, one day during shooting, Hasbro brought samples from the new Mandalorian toy line to the set to show them off. Everything looked good until Pedro removed his figure's helmet, and the face underneath it looked really, really bad.
I can confirm that figure looks freaking awful. The face on that, the face sculpt and head sculpt of Pedro Pascal in there, it looks like gazpacho. It's just it's freaking ugly. Okay, here we go.
That right there was the final humiliation, and so Pedro more or less lost it. All the previous frustration reportedly poured out of him. He started venting to cast and crew for a while until finally it escalated, into a yelling match, at which point Pedro was told to leave the set.
And I just want to say that's what Grace said. They asked him to leave the set, and he did. So here we go.
Now, I reported on this rumor a few months back. Grace Randolph had broken a version of the story, but my sources had a different take on the incident with more detail, and I went with it. But of all the rumors I've heard, this one makes the most sense to me now that I've seen Chapter 11. This new bit of information, in my opinion, casts Pascal's reaction in a new light. I do not like Pascal personally because of his antics and slanders, but hearing this, I felt I needed to set the record straight in the spirit of fairness.
All right. So then the next thing I want to go over is Jon Favreau did a interview on Good Morning America. Now, he did this interview on December 21st, 2020. Now, we're going to go over this word to pay attention to his words that he says, exactly what he says in this interview. And then we're going to go over some stuff that Kathleen Kennedy said, and we'll also continue with that. So here is that interview with Good Morning America with Jon Favreau.
At the end of the show, Boba Fett came out and said the book of Boba Fett coming coming December 20.
Notice how he said coming Christmas, and then he Freudian slipped that, and then he said, oh, sorry, December. Just that's very important. So here we go.
21. And that wasn't part of the big Disney announcement, but here's the logo. We wanted to hold this back because we didn't want to spoil the surprise during the...
I just want to say he said they wanted to hold it back because they wanted to keep it a surprise. But I just have to say this title card right here doesn't look all that amazing. Like, it looks like somebody could punch this up. You know, a professional could punch this up in like 10, 20 minutes. So I you know, it's you know, they wanted to hold off because the stuff happened. Okay, so here we go.
Announcement of all the shows when Kathleen Kennedy was up there, and so they let me keep this one a secret. So this is actually separate from The Mandalorian Season 3. Well, what we didn't say in that announcement is that the next show coming up, Kathy said the next chapter, and that's going to be the Book of Boba Fett. And then we go into production right after that on Season 3 of The Mandalorian, you know, back with the main character that we all have known and loved.
Now, I just want to say, we'll get into this in just a second. I just want to say that notice how he said with the main character that we all know and love. Now, that could go back to, hey, it could be Djarin, and they didn't have, because of his attitude on set, they had to start looking into the Book of Boba Fett, and that would be the next show / chapter in this whole thing. But they could have done it because they didn't know if Pedro was going to come back, and then they redid their thing, like Doomcock said, and he's just going to do voiceover work, and he's not going to take his helmet off, although we'll get into that in just a second. So then this is the Disney Investor Day call, and this took place on December 11th, 2020, and this is the Star Wars portion, or the Lucasfilm portion of the program. And this is Kathleen Kennedy, and we're going to take a look at what she said that Jon Favreau was talking about. So here we go.
Are concurrently developing 2 new spin-off series exclusively for Disney+. One, The Rangers of the New Republic, and the other featuring fan favorite Ahsoka Tano. Set within the timeline of The Mandalorian, these interconnected shows, along with future stories, will excite new audiences.
You're not exciting anybody.
And culminate in a climactic story event. The next chapter will debut on Disney Plus Christmas of 2021.
Notice how she just said the next chapter will debut Christmas of 2021. And Jon Favreau had said Christmas also. So something tells me that that Freudian slip of his was a little bit of an oopsie doos, because he kind of let the cat out of the bag, that all of this was not planned. So here we go. So the next thing I want to talk about, once we get through this. Okay, so this right here, this is an interview that Pedro Pascal did promoting Wonder Woman 1984, and this took place on December 15th. The video of this is a little a bit crappy, just because I got it off Twitter. I couldn't find it on YouTube. If it is on there, sorry, I didn't get that one. I got this one off Twitter. And this is him doing this interview, but they asked him about the Mandalorian and taking his helmet off, and we're going to go into this right now. So here we go. Boom.
And You said apparently that you want to hang a helmet off in future Mandalorian episodes. Is that true?
That is not true, actually. It's a really wonderful way of telling a story. It's always been a very clear creed for the character, and the collaborative process of the whole thing has been we've all been on the same page with this. So what I want is for them to make the best show possible, however they get that.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, in there, a lot of people just want to be like, oh, Grace lied. Look, he's saying that, he's willing to do whatever it takes, yada, yada, yada. But he could have lied. He could be lying himself. This isn't the first time that actors have lied about their parts or their TV shows that they're on. I mean, if you look at Marion Cotillard, who played Talia al Ghul in The Dark Knight Rises, she lied about that role. People asked her point blank if she was Talia al Ghul in that movie, and she said no, she wasn't Talia al Ghul. Comes to find out she was Talia al Ghul, and then she had to face those people, but she said she did not feel bad about that, which she shouldn't. I totally get lying about your character. You don't want to spoil the movie, but she did lie. And I mean, if you look at most recently on WandaVision, Elizabeth Olsen said that there was going to be a Luke Skywalker size cameo, which there was not. And the actress that played Dottie on that said that her character was really important to the story and everything, and it wasn't. So, I mean, like, it's not like actors don't lie about their TV shows / movies and the characters in those said movies / TV shows. So I just want to say, I mean, and of course, Pedro Pascal won't be like, oh yeah, of course that's true. I was totally difficult on set. I mean, like, come on, like, be honest with yourselves. So the next thing I want to bring up is this article right here, and this one is from Culture Slate, but there's more than one of them. There's a bunch of them out there, and this is Pedro Pascal teases that The Mandalorian will show more no helmet scenes in season 3. Now, I just want to say, I just want to say this says a lot about this and everything, because, and we'll read this quote right here. He says, as much as he says this is the way, that doesn't mean this is the only way. I find it fascinating playing with that. We don't know what he ends up being. He took his helmet off in a room full of people. Now, I just want to say real quick about that. So if you look at that, what he said before, that it's a collaborative thing and everything, and then he talks about that. If you look at those scenes, it's really weird the way that the season went down. And I think that Grace was right when she said they sprinkled in stuff, and then he came back and filmed new scenes for that. I think that in one way to talk about that is if you look at Robert Rodriguez filmed the episode where Baby Yoda's on the little mountain rock and everything, and it's basically the Boba Fett and Finnick show, because those two are basically the whole part of that episode. Mandalorian Din Djarin doesn't take off his helmet that entire episode, and he's barely got any lines. I mean, Robert Rodriguez said he only got 19 pages, and the rest he had to fill that in. So something tells me that they didn't have that episode planned, and they had to real quick, get that stuff wrapped up, and then they came up with that nonsense. Although that was a good episode. I enjoyed that. All that fighting. It was super fun. So then the next thing I want to talk about is this article here, and this is from Cosmic Book News, and the title says, Pedro Pascal may exit The Mandalorian following Gina Carano. Now, I don't want to get into Gina Carano because that's not what this video is about. What this video is about is the fact that Pedro Pascal did this interview, and one thing that in this interview is he was announced to be playing Joel in The Last of Us. They're going to do a TV show on HBO Max, and it said there, and so apparently he's going to do The Mandalorian, and he is going to be in the Last of Us also, but he's the main star of both TV shows. Now, he also did an article on Deadline about this whole thing, because that's where the Last of Us story comes from. And in that article, it said that The Last of Us has him as first position. Now, what that means is if The Mandalorian needs to film on such a date, they need to film on November 24th, and Pedro Pascal has to film The Last of Us on November 24th. The Last of Us gets, they get to film first with him. They are the ones that get to film with him, and then he gets to go film The Mandalorian second. So that The Last of Us TV show gets first priority to Pedro Pascal, and I think that says a lot. Plus, there's never been a time when an actor or actress played the main character on 2 TV shows at the same time. I mean, you can see where the conflict is as far as filming goes. And this is for 2 separate studios, so it's very interesting. Also, it says in this, they brought up the fact that in that Deadline article, some things changed, okay? So the first time it was printed, and you can't find it now. You got to go look at some archive thing or whatnot, some news archive thing. Now it says in there, and I'll just read this real quick, but I'll throw it up on Harry. It says, which recently received a Golden Globes nomination for Best Drama Series. He will continue on the Star Wars series where he is, and then, goes on and everything. But before that, hours before that, this is what the article said. I hear he could continue on the Star Wars series where he is used sparingly because of the premise of his character. Now, that's very interesting. Who from Disney called up Deadline? They're, hey, you want some more scoops? You need to change this article right now. It says he could. It needs to say he will. Because I don't think Pedro Pascal is coming back as Din Djarin. And if he does, it's only voiceover work. It's very interesting that he's taking his helmet off now. He's going to be in The Last of Us as Joel. He's got first position on that show. I honestly do not think he's coming back for season 3. And this also just proves that Grace Randolph was right in this Mandalorian scoop. She's right. You're all just haters if you don't agree with her. And I get it. She's a woman. It's so easy to crap on women. You're just, you need to realize your biases and you need to, stop and just look at the facts. Okay. All right, Jack. So Grace Randolph, her scoop on this was dead on. She was right. She's right. She said she's 1,000% right in a tweet. I think she deleted that though. She shouldn't have deleted it. She's awesome. So, listen, if you don't agree with her, you have a character flaw and you need to fix that about yourself. If you do agree with her, you're pretty awesome. This is all of the evidence that I've procured as of yet. If there's any more that pops up, I'll definitely make a video about that. But tell me, what do you guys think about this? Are you on the right side of history where Grace Randolph is correct, or are you on the wrong side of the line and you're just all like, I don't like Grace, she's wrong, you're a simp and everything? Go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below, including those hate ones. Love those. Those are always good. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the next video. You guys have a good day. Bye.